Hi, this is Rich Formidoni from Casio. Today I'm here with my good friends at Craft Music to tell you all about the Casio X300 and X500 music arrangers. If you haven't already, please check out Craft's bundles to set you up with everything you need to get going with the MZX series arrangers right out of the box. The MZX series are Casio's most ambitious keyboards to date. They have incredible sounds, great sounding rhythms, really powerful speakers, and tons of live control, and much more. So let's hear how the MZX300 sounds. There are a couple of ways to select sounds. You can push one of the category buttons on the left side, you can press tone, or you can use this beautiful color touchscreen. You can see all the different options I have to play with here. I'm going to touch tone, and now we can see a category search. So these are all the different categories of instruments we can play. It's got black and white keys, so it's got to have a good piano sound. There are also some extremely nice electric pianos built in, with period-accurate phaser, tremolo, and vibrato. Everything you're hearing me play, by the way, is available on both the MZX300 and its big brother, the MZX500. In a little while, we'll take a look at the specific advantages that the 500 has to offer. Going to the guitar category, you'll find some instruments that have strums, harmonics, fret squeaks, and other gestures like you'd find on the authentic instrument. While you're looking at the various tones that are available, don't miss the organ category and the drawbar organ subcategory. That's when you get to use the physical sliders on the left side of the keyboard to control an authentic drawbar organ. After I select an organ, you can see that there are drawbars on the screen that move when I move the physical sliders. If I touch Edit, there's a lot more I can do. Now I can see the numbers on the flutes, and if I touch Advanced, I can edit the drawbars a bit deeper. I can also adjust volume, percussion, click level, percussion mode from polyphonic or monophonic, so you can choose what era of tone wheel organ you want to play. And if I touch Enter right next to the word Noise, I can adjust running noise, tone wheel leakage, and drawbar leakage. If I touch Effect, I have control over the rotary speaker simulation. There's a button on the left side to switch from slow to fast, but I can also choose specific speeds by touching this XY pad. This XY pad works for other effects as well. One example of these period-accurate effects on this whirly sound is tremolo. As I move my finger across this pad, I can adjust depth and speed. In the ethnic category, you'll find sounds from around the world. Indonesian, Chinese, Indian instruments, many different countries are represented. The same is true of the built-in rhythms. Being an arranger keyboard, it has to be able to represent musical styles from all across the globe. The MZX300 and MZX500 do that extremely well. The quickest way to select rhythms is just like selecting tones. Press one of the category buttons on the left side, and you'll be brought to an identical category search to the one that you just saw while selecting tones. On the right side of both MZX models, you'll find pads. The 4 pads on the right side of the MZX300 can play either samples or phrases. These phrases can be looped indefinitely until you toggle them off, or they can be one-shots that run through to the end once, or they can be momentary, so they stop the instant you take your finger off the pad. And the neat thing about them is, the phrases will transpose, if you want them to whatever chord the accompaniment is playing. Now, the MZX500 has 16 velocity-sensitive backlit pads that can do even more than these pads can. Let's take a look. Now we're looking at the MZX500. It has 16 velocity-sensitive backlit pads, and they can do a wide variety of things. They can play back samples such as drums. They can play back phrases, just like the MZX300. But the MZX500 can also play chords. The great thing about this is, those chords can drive the accompaniment. You can also program a pad to play a complete chord progression. This means you could set up a row of pads to play verse, chorus, bridge, chorus again, whatever you want. On the top, you can also have musical inflections. For example, I've got a synth sound, and let's see what happens when I play the pads while holding down the right hand. The buttons to the left of the pads decide what they're going to do. Right now I'm in multi-mode, which means I can set a pad to play a chord, a sample, or a phrase. And if I want to change what the pads do, touch Menu, scroll to the right, and select Pad. Here I can configure settings for each individual pad and save it as a bank that I can select for any rhythm or tone that I want. The MZX500 and 300 are both very expandable. In addition to the built-in samples, you can record your own long and short samples to be played back on the pads. You'll also be able to add additional tones and rhythms in the future, with dedicated memory available in both keyboards, the MZX500 having a bit more. There are some additional tones and rhythms that are only available in the MZX500. Let's take a look at a few of those. When I go to my category search and go to the synth category, I see that I have two subcategories called hex layer and bass synth. A hex layer is up to 6 sounds, velocity switched, layered, and split across the keys. So for example, if I was to select a symphony orchestra and play softly, I get strings and woodwinds. If I play with a firmer touch, the brass comes in. You can actually play 4 different hex layers all across the keys for a total of 24 voices at once. The next category down is bass synth. This is a monophonic bass synthesizer with portamento that recreates classic analog style bass synthesizer sounds. One nice thing about having this beautiful color touch interface is that you can edit these tones with nice visual feedback. So I'll touch edit to modify this bass sound. I can see all the different layers that make up this sound, and I can adjust their volumes right here. I can also adjust them using the physical sliders on the left side of the keyboard. If I touch advanced, now I have options to adjust things like pitch, legato, different volume settings for the layers, and if I touch layer, now I can adjust settings for the individual layers or all of them at once. To give you an idea, let me touch filter and then touch envelope. So here I can create a filter envelope and actually see it right on the display. Both the X300 and 500 have 17-track recorders. There are 16 tracks for recording and 1 master track. To get to them, touch Menu and then touch MIDI Recorder. Now you can choose which track you want to work on, assign sounds, and start recording right away. These recorders have full editing with quantizing, cut, copy, paste, insert, all the functions you would need to create a complete production. When you're done recording, just connect a USB drive to the right side of the keyboard, and you can record the whole thing as a 2-channel WAV file. Keep in mind, this also records what's coming through the audio inputs on the back panel, so you can plug in a mixer with a microphone connected to it, or just use the dedicated mic input and record yourself singing on top of your creation. There's a lot of connectivity on both MZX keyboards. There's 1/4-inch line outs, an 1/8-inch audio input with a dedicated volume control. If you need to connect a music player or some other audio source, this is perfect. Right next to that is a dedicated 1/4-inch mic input with its own volume control. Then you have 2 line inputs that are both 1/4-inch, and these are great if you're using a multi-keyboard setup. You can take one keyboard's outputs and run it right into the MZX. Next to that, you'll find 2 pedal inputs. You can use one for a damper pedal and one for an expression pedal to control things like organ volume or wah effects. Then you'll find MIDI in and out ports, and the out also functions as a through. The USB port is class-compliant USB MIDI. No drivers, no fuss. It works with Mac, PC, Android, or iOS. On the right side of both instruments, you'll find 8 registration buttons. These are quick ways to save and recall your favorite tones, rhythms, and other settings. Every time you select a registration, you'll be selecting 2 upper tones, 2 lower tones, a rhythm, a tempo, and any effects that you've selected. Once you've arranged the keyboard how you like it, if you want to save a registration, simply hold Store and press one of the registration buttons, and you're good to go. Note also that if you press the bank button, this bank area will highlight, and you can use the value dial to choose from 12 different sets of 8 registrations, 96 registrations in all. Hopefully that's enough for your next gig. When you're on the gig, you're probably going to want some real-time control available. Fortunately, there are 2 real-time control knobs and a value dial that adjusts whatever you've selected right below the beautiful color touch interface. On the left side, you'll also find pitch bend and modulation wheels, and the 9 sliders that we used originally as drawbars can also be used to do other things. On the right side of the keyboard, you have quick access to the MIDI and audio record functions, as well as transpose and octave switches. There's also a 4-band master EQ. If you touch Menu, swipe over to the right, and select Equalizer, you can adjust this 4-band sweepable EQ that will give your master output the polish it needs for any venue. On the left and right sides of the MZX keyboards, you'll find some of the loudest speakers ever to be put into a portable instrument. These 2 full-range speakers are aimed towards the audience, and there are 4 other speakers that are aimed towards the player. Each side delivers 20 watts of power for a staggering 40 watts for the entire keyboard. These speakers are great for filling a small to medium-sized room with sound, but they're also great in stage applications as a monitor. With the combination of terrific sound, great ease of use thanks to that beautiful color touch interface, and terrific hands-on control, the MZX300 and MZX500 are perfect musical partners for any playing situation. If you have any questions about the MZX keyboards or any other Casio instrument, please reach out to Craft Music. And for a great deal, make sure you check out the bundles that they offer. They have all the accessories you need to get the most out of your instrument. Once again, I'm Rich Formidoni. Thank you very much for watching.